Okay, hello everyone. Thanks for coming out to my poetry class featuring Edgar Allan Poe. Um, I'm Ed Martelli, the instructor, and this is Chris, Brandy, of course myself, Nikki, Chris, and Matt. And we're here to learn a little bit about poetry. So I've selected 3 poems of Edgar Allan Poe. These are some of his earlier works. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to recite each poem. And I want you guys to read along, okay? And then after the poem, we're going to have a brief assessment where we're going to collaborate together and try to answer things, try to get it straightened out. Different components that make up a poem. How do we determine different things? So the first poem I have is Alone by Edgar Allan Poe. So I'll go ahead and recite it and you'll all read along. From childhood's hours I have not been, as others were I have not seen, as others saw I could not bring my passions from a common spring. From the same source I have not taken, my sorrow I could not awaken, my heart to joy at the same tone, and all I'd love alone. Then, in my childhood, in the dawn of a most stormy life was drawn, from every depth of good and ill, the mystery which binds me still, from the torrent or the fountain, from the red cliff of the mountain, from the sun that round me rolled in its autumn tint of gold, from the lightning in the sky as it passed me flying by, from the thunder and the storm and the cloud that took the form, when the rest of heaven was blue of a demon in my view. So you guys like that poem? It's kind of... You don't like it? Okay. We're going to get to all that. The thing about poetry is it's very subjective.
Oh, it's a very depressing poem.
Yes, it is a very depressing poem, and Poe is somewhat depressing something. This next poem is called A Sonnet to Science. Science, true daughter of old time thou art, who artest all things with thy peering eyes. Why preyest thou thus upon the poet's heart? Vulture, whose wings are dull realities, how should he love thee, or how deem thee wise, who wouldst not leave him in his wandering, to seek for treasure in the jeweled skies? Abet he soared with an undaunting wing. Hast thou not dragged Diana from her car, and driven the Hamadryad from the wood, to seek a shelter in some happier star? Hast thou not torn the Naiad from her flood, the elephant from the green grass, and from me, the summer dream beneath the tamarind tree? Everybody okay on that one?
Yeah, I understood that one a little bit more.
Okay. The thing about poetry is after a while you verse them a few times, and you can't just read it one time and expect to know everything about it. Take it home.
I read that one twice. That's why I understood it better.
Well, you guys got a little more background than everybody else. The next poem and the final poem is called A Paean. How shall the burial rite be read, the solemn song be sung, the requiem for the loveliest dead that ever died so young? Her friends are gazing on her and her gaudy bier, and weep, oh, to dishonor dead beauty with a tear. They loved her for her wealth, and they hated her for her pride. But she grew feeble in health, and they loved her that she died. They tell me, while they speak, of her costly broider pale, that my voice is growing weak, that I should not sing at all, or that my tone should be tuned to such solemn song, so mournfully, that dead may feel no wrong. But she is gone above, with hope at her side, and I am drunk with love of the dead, who is my bride. Of the dead, who is my bride, all perfume theirs, with the death upon her eyes, and the life upon her hair. Thus, on the coffin, loud and long, I strike the murmur sent, through the great chambers to my song, shall be the accompaniment. Thou diest in thy life's June, but thou didst not die too fair. Thou didst not die too soon, nor with too calm an air. For more than friends on earth, thy life and love are riven, to join the untainted mirth of more than thrones in heaven. Therefore to thee this night I will no requiem raise, but waft thee on thy flight with the peal of old days.
Care to explain that one? What is that?
That's for you to do. Okay, basically he's talking about his dead bride. He's talking about how other people felt about her and how he felt about her in the circumstances. So I think it's kind of a morbid type deal because even though he loves her, he's sort of gleeful that she's gone. But
Well, that's what I got from it, but I was just kind of.
yeah, Poe's very morbid. His later works, his short stories are extremely
Yeah,
morbid.
the Telltale Heart, I did essay on it in high school.
Yeah. That one's
Yeah.
real morbid. Pit and a pendulum.
The Telltale Heart, I built a thing in high school.
Okay, listen, I got 15
Built-
minutes, so let's do this, okay? Hate to interrupt, but for your assignment, and this shouldn't take very long, the instructions are please choose one of the orated poems, and for each statement listed below, determine which one you feel is applicable to that poem and why. So in other words, each one of these components, you're going to elaborate on, make an argument for me, as we discussed earlier.
Thank you.
Write a detailed response next to the topic. Make sure that you argue why you think that applies to your chosen poem. And of course, put your name in the poem. So in other words, for like the dramatic situation, that is who is speaking to whom and under what circumstances. You're going to tell me where it's happening, who's the speaker, who's talking, and what is the event, what is the occasion. For genre, there's 3 genres. They can blend together. The poems do not often fall into a specific category. Sometimes they'll fall into different categories. A lyric is usually short. It can be sung or chanted. Sometimes goes with music. It goes back to what they call an oral tradition. All these go back to oral traditions. An epic is very long and narrative. Dramatic is sometimes monologue or dialogue, and that one's a little more complex. Burial,
B-U-R-I-L.
language, here you've got diction. Is it figurative? Is there implied meaning? Some people do see different things from the poem. Is it an allegory, meaning a story on multiple levels? Does it have any symbols? Does your poem have any symbols? The next part is the tone. What is the narrator's attitude? That usually depends on his choice of words. With that, sometimes you get irony or sarcasm. So if it has sarcasm, try to point that out and tell me why. Repetition. This is real important with poetry.
What is
it
that
an end round?
B-I-E-R? Bear. What is that?
It's what covers the coffin.
Okay.
The repetition is how it rhymes. Some poems have rhymes within the sentence, and some have them at the end. Some don't have any rhymes, And some use what they call a slant rhyme, meaning it has hints of sound repetition. And then you've got to identify the form.